What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel today. Special guest, Jorge Castillo of ESPN, formerly of the LA Times, now moving across the country, covering New York baseball. Jorge, appreciate the time this morning. Do you enjoy that weekend of baseball?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me. And yeah, man, that weekend of baseball was super fun. The atmosphere every night was great. We got two great games. Two of the best teams in baseball, two biggest markets. Dodger fans showed up at Yankee Stadium. It was just a great weekend. It was a great weekend for Major League Baseball. A great weekend for the sport.
Yeah, it seemed like it. I mean, we had a guy who covers the Yankees on a few days ago, and I was just curious in New York what the vibe was. And he said ticket prices were crazy. Obviously, the Otani factor, obviously, Yamamoto, the Dodgers, throw all of it into a pot. But having two of the best teams, if not the two best teams, even if it's not record wise, playing against each other, nationally televised games, did you feel like it kind of lived up to the expectations?
Yeah, it did. I think Saturday's, was a blowout, and that wasn't too great of a baseball game. And I think Juan Soto being out, not playing, that stunk. For I think for a lot of people trying to watch Juan Soto and Aaron Judge go up against the Dodgers. But the weekend was great, man. And it's funny, right? The first thing, right when I got to Yankee Stadium on Friday, I see a group of Japanese reporters like coming out of the team store, the Yankee team store, and they all got these Otani Judge dual bobbleheads that they were selling at the Yankee Stadium team store, and they were like 150 a pop. And yeah, like we saw Judge Otani hats in the team store. We saw the Yankees knew what they were doing. They knew who was showing up. They knew this was a big series. They had a whole like big video before game one on Friday. Yankees Dodgers video. I'm not sure if that was a Yankee production or if that was Major League Baseball, but yeah, this series. I know the media. Everyone's saying the media hyped it up and the fans, but Major League Baseball knew what was up. This game
Yeah.
was Apple TV Friday. It was Fox on Saturday, ESPN on Sunday. And I think some of the players leaned into it. Shohei Ohtani spoke to ESPN, even if he didn't speak to the local reporters. But we had different elements. It's the type of stuff that Major League Baseball should want. We should all want it for Major League Baseball. It was just a great weekend. It was super cool, and so I'm super privileged and lucky to be a part of it.
Yeah, you mentioned Soto and Judge. Were Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani not good enough for you? You needed to upgrade like from the fifth and seventh best guys according to WAR to number one and two.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. Again, I've been fortunate enough to be around such great baseball players in my career, and um, yeah, I did have a chance to see Otani on the Dodgers, but I saw him, plenty on the Angels, and those two teams, there's five guys. I mean, you have to add Freddie Freeman to the mix. He's a Hall of Famer, and seeing those five guys on the field at once would have been awesome. We had four, and Aaron Judge showed. Actually, we had five. Add Teoscar Hernandez. He was a star over the weekend, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, just a lot of star power on the field. It was fun to see.
It was crazy. I think on the ESPN broadcast, I believe it was, they were talking about potential Hall of Famers that were in this game. And you've got guys like Judge, Soto, if he had played, Betts, Otani, Freeman. Those are all kind of pretty simple. And then you've got guys like Garrett Cole, Clayton Kershaw, who weren't even healthy for this one. You've got a guy like Will Smith, who knows where the potential for the future of his career is. And then a bunch of younger guys that, if the trajectory pans out, it was just from a personality perspective, like you've got names and faces, guys that are recognizable. From a talent perspective, it was interesting because when we did our live show last night, people were saying, "Hey, I kept hearing on the broadcast that if the Yankees are fully healthy, they might be better than the Dodgers." And to a Dodgers fan who looks at the roster, they're like, "How could anybody be better than this?" But when you look at the Yankees, if Cole is able to come back, if Luis Gil is able to continue the run that he's on, obviously, hopefully Soto's injury is very minor. I'll admit, Jorge, it's a lot closer than I thought because of the emergence of a guy like Luis Gil, because of how good the Yankees bullpen has been. It's a lot closer than I thought the talent on these two rosters.
Yeah, I think it was really underappreciated. I think this acquisition of Juan Soto was really under sort of valued and
Yeah.
underappreciated. I think he does stuff. He does things for a team that you can't really quantify. Obviously, his numbers are through the roof. You could argue him and Aaron Judge are the two best position players, the two best hitters in the world right now. But what he does to a lineup, the headache that he is for the opposing pitcher, the plate discipline, the eye, the
Yeah.
swagger, the step, the shuffle thing, the banging the leg, that he stares pitchers down. I, th- that mentality, that intensity, I think rubs off on other teammates, and it's hard to explain that. But if you talk to anybody on the Yankees, they think it's real. And if you look at the Yankees lineup, they got Anthony Volpe, who could be an All Star this year,
Yeah.
borderline All Star. Then you got Soto, then you got Judge, and other than that, it's not like you have a bunch of guys. Anthony, Alex Verdugo's having a good year. Stanton didn't look great this weekend, but he's been solid. When he gets a hold of a ball, still goes a mile. Other than that, I think both if they have three guys who are OPSing 800 or better. It's not like these guys are 1 through 9, you're killing the baseball. I think Juan Soto, we saw it this weekend. Not having him around really mattered.
Yeah.
But when it comes to pitching, yeah, the bullpen's been really good. I still think they probably need another reliever or two by the trade deadline. And then, again, it's if Garrett Cole's looking good so far with his 2 rehab starts. If he can get back into the fold here and maybe not be the guy from last year who won the Cy Young Award, maybe being 80-90% of that, that'll be good enough for this Yankee team. Luis Hill did not pitch last year. So, we're all wondering if he could sort of hold up, if there's an
Mm.
innings limit there for him. Clark Schmidt got off to a great start. I think it was a 2.52 ERA and 11 starts before he got hurt. He has a right lat strain. He could miss up to 2 months. So, it's a lot about health with the Yankees. We saw them last year. They were beat up last year. That's why
Yeah.
they only won 82 games. This year, if they can stay healthy, if Giancarlo Stanton can stay healthy, if Garrett Cole can come back and stay healthy, if Luis Hill can stay on the mound, if different guys can stay healthy, yeah, this team can go to the World Series without a doubt. I think they would be the best team in the American League. I just think, and I also think that Juan Soto and Aaron Judge in October
Yeah.
are going to be guys. I imagine those guys, that duo, being really good in October. We've seen it with Juan Soto in October before, man. He's a guy in those big situations, under the big spotlight. So the Dodgers and the Yankees, I think 2 of the 5 best teams. You can throw Baltimore in that mix. You can throw obviously Philly in that mix, and I think the Cleveland Guardians out of nowhere, right? Just as we all
Yeah.
predicted. I think those are the 5 teams because Atlanta, that's between losing Acuna and Spencer Strider, that's tough to bounce back from. But hey, maybe in October we're hearing from Atlanta as well.
You mentioned the bullpen. Are you giving the Yankees front office, Dodgers, former Dodgers relievers tips over there? It's like every guy out of the bullpen was like, "Wait, this guy used to pitch for the Dodgers."
Yeah, it's crazy. There's a lot of back. Those teams share a lot of guys over the
Yeah.
years. Yeah, we saw Tommy Kahnle this weekend, Dennis Santana, who got DFA'd, Victor Gonzalez, Caleb Ferguson. Yeah, we see there's a lot of crossover there. And then Alex Verdugo,
Yeah.
as well as on the Yankees. So I do think there's a few teams out there that kind of look for the same guys,
Yeah.
and that so there's a lot of overlap with that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's funny because I show up in the clubhouse for the first time, spring training Yankee clubhouse, and I'm like, oh, I know some guys. So that was nice.
That's awesome. Well, you mentioned, I mean, you made the switch from LA to New York. Um, was it like the beginning of the season, right? Was it spring training that you made the switch officially?
Yeah, so at the end of February. So
Okay.
I was actually I was actually at spring training, Dodgers spring training for the first week, and then I left. So I caught a little bit of what the Dodgers were up to before I
I'm
left.
I I'm curious, like, given how much you had covered this team, followed this team all the way up until that week, and then seeing them now, a few months into the season, was there anything that surprised you about this Dodgers team, maybe having been there day to day for so long and then just watching from afar for a few months?
Yeah, injuries aside, right? We knew that they were going to have some, a lot of pitchers sort of in and out,
Yeah.
keeping tabs on their rehab. And, I know Walker Buehler came back and Clayton Kershaw's still out and Bruce Gratterall. So, there were a lot of guys sort of in and out. Offensively, it's interesting because I think the team last year it wasn't quite like this. And I think over the years, the best Dodger teams were just so deep.
Yeah.
It was like 1 through 9, guys were really good. Because they would also platoon guys, right? So, you would have Jock against righties and then somebody else against lefties, and they were really good.
Yeah.
This team is not as deep, obviously, at least offensively for now on June 10th. Um, I was really curious because they made the switch over to Mookie Betts to play shortstop after I had left, And that to me was really interesting because it was done so quickly into the spring
Yeah.
training. It was obvious that they didn't have any confidence in Gavin Lux there. The leash was really, really short, and that made me wonder then why not do something during the winter? I mean, spring training started 2 weeks before that. Why not do something to address that? Um, Obviously they have a couple holes in the center field. Chris Taylor's obviously just not having a good year. They're not as deep as they used to be. Now they're not as deep as they used to be, and they won one World Series out of it, right? In 2020, you can easily argue they should have won in 2017, right? Given what was going on, but this team has a lot of top end talent right now,
Yeah.
and that to me in October, you see in October everyone's like, "Well, it's a crapshoot," and there is some of that. It's no doubt. Some of it's just some bad luck, good luck, whatever. But there has been sort of a formula that's been in play here the last few years. We've seen it with the Phillies getting to the World Series. We've seen it with the Diamondbacks getting into the World Series. You need like two or three really good starting pitchers. Oh, and the Nationals, who beat the Dodgers in 19. You need three, good starting pitchers. And the better they are, the 19 team had Scherzer, Strasburg, Corbin, and Anibal Sanchez. And then you need like top end talent. They had Juan Soto, Anthony Rendon, Trey Turner, all that stuff. This Dodger team has a lot of top end talent.
Yeah.
They have Yamamoto, they have Glass now. If Walker Buehler can get it going. If not, they have Gavin Stone. And then you figure out the bullpen along the way with all those surplus starters that you have, because they have like 10 starters right now that
Yeah.
you can throw in the bullpen in October. You probably go get another reliever in July or two. The way they're picking up relievers right now, Yohan Ramirez is a guy, Anthony
Yeah.
Banda is a guy. The Dodgers have been very good at that over the years. And then you just ride Mookie, you ride Freddie Freeman, Shohei Ohtani, Will Smith. If Max Muncy can get back and be healthy, you don't need You don't need 1 through 26 to win the World Series. One
Yeah.
through 26 or 1 through 40, really. That's how these guys think. It's great for winning a whole lot of games in the regular season, but you don't. There's no President's Trophy or whatever you get. There's no hockey
Yeah.
equivalent here. Of like baseball equivalent to like a hockey trophy for getting the most wins during the regular season. You're trying to win the World Series, and I could see a world in which this team, even though it looks pretty, it's not as good as the team, from a couple years ago or 3 years ago during the regular season. I could see a world in which this team is better equipped for the
Yeah.
postseason. And that's kind of the point here. I
Yeah.
was there for 5, 6 years, and every year it was like, almost every year it was like, well, you guys didn't win it. 111 wins, that's cool, but you guys didn't win it. Um, and I think this team, while they might not win 105 games or whatever, could be better equipped for October.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're all just hoping Lance Lynn isn't starting a playoff game for the Dodgers this year. And as long as we can avoid that scenario, which seems likely, we'll be feeling pretty good. One other person I like asking, guys like yourself who have been around the team, who are on the inside for so long, is about Dave Roberts. You mentioned Yohan Ramirez. There's the moment with Yohan Ramirez and Dave Roberts a couple weeks ago, when Roberts goes onto the mound and basically hugs the guy. And it felt like a really fascinating moment because nobody really knew what to do with it at first. Like, is this like awesome or is this weird? We're not entirely sure. And yet, as stories have come out, as Johan had some quotes about it, it felt like almost the perfect moment to encapsulate why Dave Roberts has been as successful as he has. And yet, he still has fans that, like, every single post-game show we do, want this guy fired. As somebody who was with the team and was on the inside and probably got to know Dave Roberts a little bit, as you watched that moment, did you feel like that's a fair representation, something you could point to and saying, this is who Dave Roberts is?
Yeah, I think Dave, what he does is he played. Um, he has that personality, right? He's a great representative. Every single day, speaking to the media, doing all the engagements that a Dodgers manager is required to do. He is great at all that. I think what he did with Yohan Ramirez was great. He recognized the situation. He realized that he said it, I think this weekend, like, hey, he needed to be loved on a little bit,
Yeah.
and recognizing that the vulnerability of these people. A lot of us, we look at them as, not a lot of, I think some people, they look at these guys as sort of just these, men, these machines who are just going to go out there and play baseball. And these guys are, they're scared of failing. They get embarrassed. They have, for lack of a better word, feelings too. So
Yeah.
I think Dave recognized it in that moment. And I think that's, Dave has been doing this for a while now. And he's done it well. I know a lot of hey, I've been in that room where there's been a lot of questions thrown at Dave about his, nitpicking, how he handles situations, especially in the postseason. But on the whole, he's done a great job. There's no
Yeah,
doubt about it. He's the all-time winningest manager if you go by percentage
it's
in
crazy.
Major League Baseball history. Obviously, it helps that he has great talent. Obviously, it helps he has a great front office in place that has a lot of money to spend, spends it well, and also can find guys like Evan Phillips out of nowhere. Or over the years, Max Muncy and Chris Taylor, right? But it still takes somebody like Dave Roberts to figure it out with all those stars that he's had over the years to figure it out when is a good time to go hug a Yohan Ramirez. You got DFA'd by the Mets 2 weeks ago or whatever it was,
Yeah,
and just showed up here and recognizing that the guy needed help in a different way. Dave has done a great job in that regard. Obviously, the fans are going to be. I'm out here in New York right now, man, and Aaron Boone hears it all the time too. So it's
yeah,
like every market. No one likes their manager. No
yeah,
one can tell me who's a good manager or not.
yeah,
Unless like if they win the World Series, the guy's a good manager. If not, then he's not a good manager. It seems like that's sort of like the line. I think this is a lot more nuanced than that.
yeah,
I think Dave Roberts, the manager of the Dodgers, for a reason. Now, if they don't win the World Series this year, I do wonder what happens. He's not. It's a fair question. I think it's
yeah,
a fair question to ask this time around. Same thing with Aaron Boone here with the Yankees, but this guy's the manager for a reason. He's done a great job. That was just a great example of what he does. And I think it's really undervalued. It's underappreciated how much that guy does representing the Dodgers on a day in, day out basis, dealing with that media contingent, dealing with all those reporters this year.
yeah.
And he handles it so well. So I know fans are going to be fans. So I'm not going to preach to him and be like, hey, don't be like that. That comes with it. That comes with the
Yeah.
job as well. And Dave Roberts knows that.
Yeah, you mentioned New York. That was the last question I wanted to ask you before we get you out of here. Uh, Stereotypically, there is a vast difference between life in Los Angeles and life in New York City. Within the clubhouse, there's the mythology of the Yankees and all the rules and all that kind of stuff. You're also doing some stuff from the Mets, so you've got a wide chasm just between the two teams and organizations that you're probably engaged with on a somewhat regular basis. How would you best summarize how different life has been in the job that you are in New York City versus Los Angeles?
Oh yeah, it's been a lot at once, man. The transitioning, moving across the country, both personally and professionally. New York City is just so, New York and LA are just so different. I'm looking at your background here, and clear skies and palm trees, and I miss that. No, it's been great here. The Yankees aren't as like corporate or as I know there's the whole no beard thing, and they seem very corporate and whatever, but it's not it's not like crazy. It's not
Yeah,
by any means anything like noticeable or anything. Obviously, Alex Verdugo's testing the boundaries of the chains he can wear. I think it's two smaller chains or one big chain is the rule they came up with for him. The Mets have a different feel. The Yankees are more like boom, boom, boom. It's the Yankees. They have a lot going on. The people running the Yankees have done this for such a long time, and they're so good at it. And they run it like a well-oiled machine. The Mets, I think, are still trying to figure some things out. Steve Cohen got there a couple years ago. They just hired David Stern, so I imagine that's going to change over the years. Um, but the Dodgers and the Yankees, to me, those are the two most similar. It's like they're very similar to each other.
okay.
The how big the markets are, how much media is around, how many people care, the stars that show up, the stars that play for them. The front offices are two of the best front offices. They have a lot of money to spend. They do it a lot for the R&D. They, the best food, the best, care, all this stuff. Those two organizations are two of the best. So I've been fortunate enough to be around both of them. Um, and yeah, it's been fun. And uh, these they do a lot of things similarly. We were just talking about how a lot of the same players are playing, going
Yeah.
back and forth because they like the same players. It's super interesting to see that. But it's fun also to see how the fans. We talk about the fans. That they're different than the fans in LA, right? Like the LA,
Yeah.
there's like a different kind of feel at Yankee Stadium compared to Dodger Stadium, but both have electric atmospheres when things are going. So yeah, it's like it's different, but kind of the same, between the Dodgers and the Yankees, especially. The Mets are a little different. The Mets are, it's still New York City, but
Yeah.
it's not the Yankees.
Yeah.
So that's where the difference is.
Yeah, you mentioned the fans. For all of Dodger fans, they're absolutely passionate, all of that. I can't imagine a "We Want Soto" chant while one of their own players was up like this early in the season. I mean, they'll turn on guys, but I can never imagine a "We Want So and So" chant at one of their own dudes in the middle of a game.
Yeah. We were shocked in the press box. Like I was looking around, and I looked over the Dodgers beat guys because obviously those guys are good friends of mine, and I was like, oh my god! And I thought it was just straight up just disrespectful to be honest. And
Yeah,
it's actually funny because my wife went to the game on Friday, and she's from LA. And I was like, how was the crowd? And she was like, they were like the Yankee fans is so intense, and so like I think the Dodger fans show up like they have the attendance number every year. It's 50 something, what, 50,000 a game. But I think Yankee fans, they're more intense. And we saw it with
yeah,
the "We Want Soto" chant, man. You will not hear that at Dodger Stadium. If someone's up and we want whoever else, something like that, you will not hear. And then they were funny about it enough to kind of come back the next at bat, and "We Want Grisham."
yeah.
So that was good. But yeah, obviously the Yankees weren't thrilled about that, and Trent Grisham shut him up with that home run. So just the intensity with the Yankee fans, that's next level. They're really New York fans in general.
Yeah. Look, no Dodger fan was too bummed to hear Trent Grisham getting razzed by his own fans. That was one thing we could all unite on there for a moment, and then Trent Grisham had to spoil everything. So, Jorge, I appreciate the time. Let folks know where they can find some of your coverage. Obviously, I'm sure you did lots of stuff covering stuff over the weekend that Dodger fans may want to check out.
Yeah, so I'm just at ESPN.com, MLB tab or whatever it is, the page, and then Twitter, Instagram, Jorge Castillo, as you see it spelled here, one word. And yeah, that's where you can find me on social media.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us, and thank you everybody who's here watching. As always, we appreciate the views. You can subscribe and ring the notification bell here. Dodger Blue 1958. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. As always, go Dodgers.